Hi, I'm Megan Hudgins. I am an assistive technology trainer and support staff person at Commtech. I have been blind since birth with optic atrophy. I was able to attend my local public schools in East Tennessee from kindergarten through the 12th grade. I was able to use Teachers for the Visually Impaired throughout my public schooling. I learned Braille in kindergarten at age 5, and my first piece of technology, if it could be called technology, was a Perkins Brailler. I used the giant clunking machine from kindergarten through the 2nd grade. It was not the cool electric machine that I have now. I also learned slate and stylus, and I learned touch typing with an electric typewriter. I was a lot slower at typing then than I am now. Computers are much easier. After using the Brailler exclusively, I was introduced to the Braille and Speak. It was a neat piece of technology. It was my first electronic tech toy, and I loved it. Shortly after that, I met the Braille Light 40. It was even more awesome than the Braille and Speak because I got to read Braille and type Braille electronically. I used the Braille Light for all of my classwork for many years, up until it died when I was in the 11th grade. I also used JAWS, but I was never as much a JAWS user as I was a note-taker user. After the death of my Braille Light, I switched to the PackMate from Freedom Scientific and the Braille Note Empower from Humanware. I liked the Empower because it was so new and different. I loved it because I was able to learn it completely on my own. My visually impaired TVI at the time brought it to me one Friday and said, "Here, take this home and learn it." So I did. And I finished my homework for that weekend Sunday night. But I did learn the new tech toy. I kept using the Braille Note Empower into college. When I got to college, I still had no idea what I wanted to be when I grew up. I had always wanted to be a teacher since elementary school, but that ended up not going how I had hoped it would. After many major changes, I ended up settling with psychology. I used my Braille Note Empower and then a Braille Note Apex throughout college. I also used JAWS and became much more proficient with it than I had ever been before. For my textbooks, I used a Bookport Plus that I learned about from a podcast. It was one of the coolest pieces of technology I'd ever owned because it was so tiny and I felt like I could do a lot with it. I learned that if I put my books at 3 times the normal speed, I finished chapters much more quickly than I did at regular speed or with reading Braille. I still read my books at 3 times the normal speed, except now I do it on my iPad Mini 4. I got my first iPhone in 2013. Some of my blind and visually impaired friends were already using smartphones and iPod touches, and VoiceOver was intriguing to me. I had never handled one of these devices, but I was interested in how it would all work. So I purchased a pre-owned iPhone 3GS. It was the best purchase I had ever made. I learned that phone, first only doing the basics, texting, calling, adding my own contacts instead of having a sighted person do it for me, and I loved that thing. I don't have it anymore. It slowed down significantly because it was already at least a year behind where everyone else was as far as the release cycle of iPhones. so it's in technology heaven now. I have an iPhone 8 Plus now that I probably use for 95% of all of my technology doings. I love Apple. It's one of the best pieces of technology ever. I also have a Braille Note Touch Plus that I do most of my reading on, as well as research. One thing I find that I like about myself, that I find to be interesting, is that I'm a learner. I am rarely ever satisfied with the first answer given, no matter what the topic. That made things like math difficult because there was only one right answer, and it couldn't really be explained any farther than that one right answer. Anyway, other things are much easier than that. I learn via podcasts. I am subscribed to way more feeds than I should be. I learn about technology and organization, decluttering, farming. It brings me much enjoyment. I could spend hours learning and reading. I think this could be helpful when it comes to training, because I'm never satisfied with saying I don't know. I always want to know the answer. That makes me sound like a know-it-all, but I'll just go with that. I always want to help people. And when I saw that Commtech USA was hiring an assistive technology trainer, I was excited. I have wanted to train people on assistive technology for several years now. When I got my first iPhone and realized that I love technology, I thought about how cool it would be to have a job involving technology. But since I didn't think that was possible, I relegated technology to the zone of hobbies. Now that I know that training is a possibility, I think it's wonderful that I could combine two things that I want so much. I never stopped wanting to teach. Even though I know I won't be teaching children in a classroom, teaching technology to any individual, any age, will be amazing. It will be something that I've wanted to do for a very long time. I'm excited that I get this opportunity, and I'm excited that I get to work with people who seem very friendly, and I'm glad that I found the Facebook post that told me about Commtech. I'd never heard of this company before, and it seems like a very good company where I could teach people.